Good evening, everyone, and welcome to City Hall. We are here in the mayor's office in our city, Muscatine, Iowa, on 9/11. You know what, we're just talking about that. We can't even believe it's been 17 years. It's went so quickly. But prayers go out to all of the families affected, and I know it's been a difficult day for many, many folks. We don't want to at all diminish that fact. We would like to start our show tonight, though, and show you some highlights of the community block party that we had on Friday night out at the Discovery Center. You know what? The weather was not the best, but the people just come and come and come. We can't believe how many people come out for it. Several people commented, you know, I didn't think there'd be near this many people, but there was. We just had a little sprinkling the entire night, no big storms. So many businesses and organizations come out and just do fun stuff with the kids. We do door prizes. Hy-Vee always is right there for our community, and they bring out and grill hot dogs for everyone the whole evening long. Lots of families, a couple of umbrellas, but most people just weathered it right on through. And we missed Kathy Anderson-Knoll. She usually comes and does fingernail polish, but other people, you know, the library did the big blocks, and we had the ring tosses and all other kinds of things. It was a really fun evening. Did we show that picture of the two little kids? I thought that was the cutest picture ever, and that was Tiffany, a friend of ours, took that picture, and we'll see if they can pull that up. There we go. Can you see it? Isn't that the cutest thing? We have Gunny the Clown. The Prevent Child Abuse Iowa has different councils throughout the state for child abuse prevention, and the Muscatine Child Abuse Prevention Council is called CARES, and they sponsor Gunny the Clown. He calls himself Wes the cowboy guy now, I think, and he does balloon animals for all the kids. It's a ton of fun. But thanks to everybody that came out. And without further ado, we're going to go right to our first guest, which is Paula Lavasser, and she's the director of New Horizons. I think she went right out of grade school to working at New Horizons.
Yeah, it was grade school.
It was pretty cool.
Right.
Yes,
yeah,
because you've been there for, it's got to be 30 years.
It will be 30 years in April.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm past 29 and a half.
There you go.
So, yeah.
But I believe, did you start out as a substance abuse counselor?
I did. When I was first hired, I was the adolescent substance abuse counselor, partly because I wasn't too much older than being an adolescent.
I could see that.
And I often joke that I've done every single job in the department because I've done prevention, I've done evals, I've done adult treatment, I have filled in as our secretary when we need to, I've plunged a few toilets here and there. I've done it all.
Done it all. That's right. And in the interest of full disclosure, I worked there maybe 25 years ago.
It's been quite a while.
Same time as you.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, you guys do a variety of things, and you have all kinds of comprehensive services. So you do treatment.
We do. The treatment we provide is outpatient treatment.
Okay, so they don't spend the night.
Right. A lot of times when people think about addictions treatment, they think of residential or inpatient treatment. And those are quality services. There are some people who need that, but a lot of people don't need to be in a 24-hour structured facility.
Sure.
And so outpatient services allows them to go to work or go to school, spend time with their families, and still get the treatment that they need outside of their work hours.
Probably more cost effective too, isn't it?
Much more cost effective. Back when I was a child and I started there, the trend back then really was you started out in a 28-day residential program and then kind of worked your way down to outpatient. Now, almost everybody starts in outpatient treatment.
Oh, really?
It's really hard to get someone into residential and impossible to get somebody into inpatient treatment. It's just...
Well, I would imagine the hope is that as the years go by and we are able to more readily be able to diagnose someone with an issue at an earlier onset.
That is exactly it. The earlier we can intervene, the more likely someone is going to be successful in their recovery. and also the lower level of care that they need.
Sure.
So again, when most people think about addiction, or let's say alcoholism, they think about the guy in the gutter with the bottle in a brown paper bag, which I have yet to see. Haven't seen that person.
Okay,
you
and
know.
you've probably seen several
I've seen
people
a lot,
with an issue.
a lot of people, but most people are not in a gutter with a brown paper bag with a bottle in it.
They're working.
Yeah,
and
they're working, they have families, you know, they get groceries, they do all of the things that we do, you know. And so the sooner we can intervene in that process, the less issues and problems that they've had, that they've encountered, and the fewer issues and problems they have to overcome in order to be successful in their recovery.
And probably the least effect on their health.
Yes.
On their life.
Yes.
Their marriage, their jobs, their careers.
Well, and you have more of those things intact. So if I have a job and I have a relationship, a supportive relationship, and I have a stable home, I'm probably going to be more likely to be able to address those other issues in my life than if I'm just trying to figure out where my next meal is going to come from.
Sure.
If I don't have the money to pay my rent, you know, I really can't address my addiction issues if I'm worried about all of these other problems that are going on in my life.
Right.
So we do see far more what I call multi-problem clients, not in terms of they have more problems when they present at our door. You know, they have those housing issues, or they have the unemployment issue.
Transportation
issues, or they've burned a lot of bridges with family or friends.
Sure.
And so they have more problems coming in the door than maybe what they did 25, 30 years ago. And we have to be a little bit more creative on how we help them with those issues.
But you guys do a good job helping them navigate the services in the community so they can work on those things.
Well, and we try to do that. Plus, there's more support services in the community.
True.
So instead of us trying to help navigate, maybe we help them get hooked up with integrated health home. And then they have a dedicated person who can help them with that. So we try to identify those resources, make those referrals, and get the assistance that they need. Yeah.
Good. Now you also do prevention things.
We do, and that's what you used to do.
That's what I used to do.
Yes. So we have 2 full-time staff that work in prevention. We have we receive funding through the Iowa Department of Public Health to do what we call both comprehensive prevention and then tobacco-specific prevention. And I always say prevention, they do the fun stuff.
Sure.
So like they were at the community block party.
Yes, they were.
They go to any of those health
Halloween
fairs.
at the Y, the health fairs.
Yeah, all that fun stuff.
Workshops.
They go to the Muscatine County Fair.
Yeah.
So they do all that fun things. They also do curriculums in the schools. We go to every school in the county, so West Liberty, Wilton, and Muscatine schools. We provide like workplace trainings, technical assistance if they want assistance, like looking at their policies, whether it's a drug-free workplace policy or maybe it's a tobacco-free workplace
The tobacco-free
policy.
campus. I think you helped us at the Y with that.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, you know, since that law changed, which I wonder how many years that's been.
I don't know.
Quite a few. But since that law changed, now our focus isn't just on smoke-free campuses, but it's totally nicotine-free campuses.
Yes, we had to change ours.
Yeah.
Because of the electronic stuff.
Yes, e-cigarettes and all of those interesting devices.
We hadn't thought of that.
Well, no, but you know, as we continue to look and expand, those are the issues that we're looking at.
It's not just smoking, it's smoke less.
Yes.
Also.
Yes. Because the jury's still out on those e-cigarettes. And, and honestly, there's more and more evidence that they're not good for you. So.
Oh, no. Besides the ones blowing up in people's pockets, for crying out loud.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, blowing up in people's pockets, people's faces. I mean, lots of other issues with those.
Yeah, not good any way you look at it.
No.
Well, you know, Paula, I know sometimes your job could be a thankless job because we talk about it sometimes with other social service organizations, how some social service organizations get a lot of love from the community.
Yeah.
You know, people that work with people with disabilities. Well, you know, it wasn't their fault that they were born with a disability, and so of course they need all the support that they can get. Or, you know, people who don't have both parents, so they need supports and things like that. But now I work with teen parents. They don't get a lot of love,
no,
because they brought that on themselves. Some people think.
You get the finger pointing.
Exactly. You know, and I think you can be in that ballpark sometimes, where people don't think that our resources really should go to helping people in recovery.
Yeah, I agree with you, because there is kind of this misperception that people bring addiction onto themselves.
Sure. Well, they brought it on themselves. Yeah.
And it's kind of
like,
like,
they just quit.
That's exactly what it is. Why don't they just quit? And the reality is, when people are asking that question, that says to me that they definitely don't suffer from an addiction themselves. Sure. Because if it was that easy, I wouldn't be doing what I do.
No.
Because there would be no need for it.
Exactly.
There are a lot of people that just don't understand that addiction is a disease. So back in the 1950s, the American Medical Association recognized alcoholism and other drug addiction as a disease. So this isn't something that happened like 10 years ago,
right,
or 17 years ago. This was back in the 1950s. They recognized that it was a disease, and over the course of these like 70 years since then, there's been all kinds of research that's been done, and we know for a fact that addiction is a brain disease. So similar to other diseases like depression, where there's an actual difference in the brain chemistry, that's the difference between an addict and someone who's not an addict. And once they are consuming, let's say, alcohol, that whole disease process, that change in that brain chemistry happens. And so it creates a compulsion to use despite negative consequences.
Yes.
So the person who's saying, why don't they just stop, their experience is, oh, well, I had a consequence, so I stopped using. Or I changed what I was doing so that that wouldn't happen again.
Right.
Where the person with the addiction, that brain chemistry results in this compulsion where, despite those negative consequences, they find that they aren't able to control their use or limit their use.
Sure.
And so it's not like they're making these decisions, oh, you know what, I want to make bad choices today. I want to make my family mad. I want to put my job at risk. I want to get arrested. That's not a choice that anybody's making. Of course not. And you know, it's interesting because it's a survey that we often do in treatment. We'll be like, well, how many of you sat there and thought, someday I want to grow up and be an alcoholic or a drug addict?
Yeah.
Not once has anybody raised their hand. It's not something that we aspire to.
Of course not.
And yet, a lot of people find themselves in that situation. And when you're in the middle of it, that compulsion to drink or to use is so great that, again, you continue to do it despite the consequences, and you see that usage as a solution because you can't feel good without it.
Right.
And it's heartbreaking when people make this assumption that someone asked for it. You know?
Right.
You don't say that to someone who has heart disease or someone who has diabetes or cancer, and yet people are so willing to say that to someone who has addiction, or, as we talked before the show started, depression. You know, why don't you just snap out of it?
Right.
Cheer up.
Sure.
You know, it's not that simple.
No. And I don't know why society's lagging so much behind on this, but sometimes I think we're getting there, and then there'll be a step back. You know, we were talking that there's been a couple of pretty public issues lately, you know, a death, an overdose.
Yes, with two very famous individuals. Demi Lovato had her overdose on heroin and was hospitalized, and then Mac Miller unfortunately died from his overdose, and that was just last week. And it is interesting. People sometimes do kind of rally around those folks, those famous individuals when they have a problem, or when there's a death. Oh, how sad. Why didn't we see this sooner? Why didn't people help them? I think back when Whitney Houston passed away, a lot of people were like, why didn't people help her?
Yes.
Well, you know, maybe some family members did try to help her. I don't know. I wasn't there. But it's a difficult issue, and it is hard for people to get in recovery.
Sure.
It requires making a lot of changes and really addressing a lot of problems that they're having, and not being able to use the thing that they know helps them feel good.
Right.
You know?
I would think it takes a lot of swallowing of pride.
Yeah.
To
well,
go.
And just think about it. One of the biggest things is people need to reach out for help. You know? Yeah. And how many of us like to ask for help? I don't like to ask for help. No. I'm more than happy to offer my help.
Sure.
I'll be the first one there to raise. Sure, I'll help with that, or let me look at my schedule. But
I can do that. I got it.
Yeah. Do I like to ask for help? And
Sure.
even when people offer, I'm exactly that same way. And so there is a lot of ego involved, and it is really difficult to say, you know what, I can't do this. And one of the things that we know about recovery is the people that are most successful are those people who reach out for support and get help, whether it's going to treatment, going to AA or NA, reaching out to their church, you know, but to try to do it alone, most people are not successful in that. Addiction can be a very lonely and isolating disease because of how you end up pushing family and friends away. And so it's really important that people get those social supports back in place afterwards.
Sure. Oh, I can imagine. And I would think that it would be difficult for them to even share some of their experiences with their loved ones.
Oh, absolutely. We have had quite a few clients who've come in who've kind of led like dual lives, secret lives. And I remember one time in particular, a married couple, and she had no idea what her husband had been doing. None. And to have to let her know about his cocaine use, and then to be even more upfront about how he lied about it and how he hid it, because those secrets are the things that keep the door open to return to use. So it's really important that we share with others, you know, hey, this is how I hid my use. These are the lies that I told you. These are my tells that like I'm wanting to use, but I don't really want to talk about it.
You don't want to give that up because that's kind of your ace in the hole in case for later.
And we talk about, you know, sometimes you have to close those doors that keep usage open as an opportunity, you know.
And that's part of what they learn in treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
How long does it take?
How long does what's it, Diane?
Treatment. The actual, how long is treatment?
Treatment. So treatment is individualized, but on average, if we have somebody who is in outpatient treatment, usually primary treatment's about 7 weeks long, and then continuing care is usually 2 to 3 months. But the thing is that is really just the stepping stone that starts them in their recovery. And so the goal is recovery
is forever.
Right. Yeah. And so it seems like a lot of time, you know, 7 weeks. It's like, oh, that's like practically a college course in the That's a summer college course right there.
And they meet every day?
Not every day. Intensive outpatient meets 4 times a week for group. And the other option, we have what we call extended outpatient, and that meets a couple times a week. And so if someone starts out in intensive, we then cut back on the number of sessions that they have during the week. And kind of transition them down into only coming one time a week.
Okay.
We want them to engage in other sober supports like AA or NA, and so we want to cut back on the number of sessions they're having with us so that they can engage.
Because that's what they'll be doing long term.
Absolutely. And
do you incorporate their family?
We have at different times had family treatment as part of our services, and we are looking at maybe starting that again with the new year. We haven't done it in a while, but we have a counselor who's interested in facilitating that, so hopefully we'll get back to doing that again.
Otherwise you'd encourage Al-Anon and things like that for...
And we will do more like a combined individual session with family members, but not like a full family group.
Well, sure. That makes sense.
And it is important because family members don't understand addiction either. What they know is the pain and the hurt.
And you promised me you wouldn't do this anymore.
And all of those things that have gone on in their relationship. And so to get a better understanding about what addiction is and how they actually can be supportive and helpful versus enabling their family member, those are all important things that people need to learn about.
So is there anything that you think that we need to know, the community, moving forward? How can we help? What can we do? Do we want to target and be more aware of people younger, so our youth? Do we want to do more community outreach? Do we want to do more being more responsible ourselves, or a combination of all of these things?
Can we do all of those?
Yes, probably.
Things? Yeah, well, I think, I think first and foremost, I think as a community, we need to be supportive and address that stigma.
And not be judgmental.
And not be judgmental, yes. Because if we can all do that, that opens a lot of doors for a lot of people. Just having a better understanding about what addiction is. It is not a moral weakness. It is not a person who doesn't have values. It's not a person that, just needs to say no. I mean, there's so much more involved in that. So really addressing that stigma, that would be the biggest thing as a community that we could do. And then I think, you talked about youth. We need to support our young people. We need to give them opportunities to have safe environments to grow up in, supportive environments where they aren't exposed to a lot of alcohol and drug use, and really being focused on that for our young people, being good models for them of what are healthy relationships, what are healthier relationships maybe with alcohol versus binge drinking on the weekends.
Right.
Oh, I've had a stressful day, I better have a drink. Think about what kind of message you're sending to your child, because every time we say to something like that, we're basically saying alcohol is a solution to a problem, and I don't think that's a message that we really want to send to our children. So that's a big thing. And then, as a community, I think we just need to be aware that there are problems here in Muscatine. Methamphetamine is back in the community. That's a concern. We aren't seeing the opiate use that they're seeing in other communities yet.
Hopefully not.
But that's something that we want to keep an eye on.
Sure.
And the reality is, the main drug that we see people for in treatment is still alcohol. And so we really need to kind of look at what our attitudes are about alcohol use, and keep in mind, anytime that we're promoting just drinking to get drunk, drinking to solve problems, those types of things, that really places people at risk for addiction.
Sure.
And that's the kind of behavior that I would like to see changed, to really look at individuals that, and I'm not saying they're not social users, but when your social use is still focused on getting plastered, or if that's what you're thinking about all the time, that's probably not a good thing.
No.
And to really look at that in our community as a whole, to be more supportive of what would actually be more social use
Right,
of alcohol.
right.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like the idea too of us policing each other. And when we hear someone else being judgmental, even if
Yes.
we aren't doing it, you know,
Yes.
saying, you know what, that's a disease just like everything else. So let's
Yes.
treat it as such.
Yes.
And if we all, you know, try to do
Yes.
that, that's going to help a lot.
And I think we need to do that with any type of stereotype that people are throwing when
Yes.
they're doing any type of that judgment. And the more comfortable we get in doing that, the less we'll see that behavior
I agree.
across the board, whether it's mental health, whether it's, you know, racism,
Sure.
or, you know, lots of
Bullying.
lots of stereotypes out
Yes.
there that we need to address and combat as a community.
I agree. Thank you so much for coming, Paula.
Well, thanks for having
I
me.
am so glad that you came and we got a chance to talk about this. I think it's something, you know, we're going into the season of tailgating and, you know, holiday parties going to be coming up. And I just
Right.
think that you're right, a healthy relationship
Yes.
and encouraging that and modeling that and promoting that is.
Yes. And if
It's
you
good.
find that you aren't able to have that healthy relationship, then call us.
Call 264-9409.
09. That's right.
I don't know why. I'll remember that forever. Thank you, Paula. I
Thanks.
appreciate you coming. Well, if anything comes up or you guys have any big programs going on, give us a holler and you come back over.
We will do that.
Well, as we get ready to segue into our next guest, I just wanted to talk about a couple things that are coming up at the Art Center. I know I've shared with you a ton of times about the wonderful programs that we have at our Art Center. And we have a living proof exhibit, and it is going to be Cancer Survivor Art. And it is Sunday, September 16th, and from 1:30 to 3:30. I think we have a flyer that we can get up. And then there's another session September 20th called Explore Art. Now this is free and open to all cancer patients, survivors, and their support team. So if you have any questions, give a call to the Art Center, 263-8282. Were we able to find that flyer, Living Proof Exhibit? I guess not. So we will move on to the next one, which is Mini Masters, and that is September Back to School. And it's just an introduction for your children 2 to 7 to the world of art with stories and activities. And it's all around Otter Goes to School. So September 12th and 13th, which is Wednesday and Thursday this week. And one's in the morning and one's in the afternoon. But just give a call anytime you have a question. You could go to their Facebook page too, the Muscatine Art Center, or give them a call at 263-8282. They have always got some really great programs going on. Finally, I just wanted to mention that it's September is Classical Music Month. And you know we have a symphony orchestra in Muscatine that is amazing. If you haven't had a chance to get out and listen to them, I mean, anytime you get a chance, do it because it's worth it. The first concert of the season is October 13th, so get a chance to do that if you can. Next, I want to welcome our next guest, Greg Jenkins. He is the CEO of the Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GMCCI.
Way to go, Mayor.
A long mouthful there.
Yeah, right.
Thanks for coming, Greg.
Thanks for having me. It's
Hey,
good
I
to
know
see
you've
you.
been here before, but we've been talking about this labor shed analysis that's coming up. Now, I know you sent one to me, and we've got some pictures of that, the 2017 one. Have we started the 18 one yet?
The data collection portion of the 2018 labor shed is underway.
Okay, good.
This has proven to be a really good thing from the state. Historically, we have our labor shed renewed every 2 years, and we have had to pay for it. And in the past, that's been upwards of $6,000 to get that done.
Okay.
But we have gotten it done. And, But now the state is paying for them for all communities across the state, which is awesome.
Nice.
And so Muscatine managed to be in the first round to get them done. I will say that I called the squeak big time to see if we couldn't get that done because I knew ours was expiring and I didn't want to wait 2 years for it to get the new one.
So it's done in collaboration with Iowa Workforce
Iowa
Development?
Workforce Development.
Okay.
That's right. I mean, they do the
They do the legwork.
They do the legwork. They do
Okay.
the analysis.
What kind of things do we, go ahead.
Well, when you talk about a labor shed, it's
Yes.
kind of like a watershed.
Yes.
And so if you think about where water comes from, it's the same as labor shed. So the initial step is to send an, a letter to the businesses of the community. And from that, they ask that the businesses send back the report that shows the zip codes from where their employees live,
Okay.
and the number of people that live in that given zip code.
So we can get an idea of how many people work here, live somewhere else, and vice versa?
And vice versa.
Okay.
But that also then establishes what our labor shed is, because where people will commute from is the place from whence we can get employees.
Sure.
And so when you look at the report that's online right now, that is the 2017, and that's the one we use, but it's the summary document. But the full document, which we'll put up when we have it renewed, is like 40 pages long.
Wow.
And shows tons of data. They garner that data. First, they establish what the labor shed is. What is that geographic
What's our
area
area?
where we get employees from? Would you like to guess how many people that is for Muscatine? How big our labor shed is?
How big our labor shed is?
Without looking at the paper in front of
I
me.
haven't looked at it. 100,000.
It's 405,000 people.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought so much.
So that's the geography
Because
we
you got
cover.
all of the Quad Cities. You got Burlington. You've got
Iowa City.
Iowa
and-
City, Cedar Rapids area. Okay.
Yeah, so we have a pretty large labor shed
Sure.
where we can draw employees. But from that, then they will do a set of surveys within those given areas. So by each zip code, we'll have random surveys done. It won't be the person, because the person's identity who is reported as having lived in that zip code is kept confidential.
Sure.
So they'll call into that area and they'll establish a survey that says we are prepared to change jobs because of maybe it's wages, maybe it's benefits, maybe it's commute time, but they'll be able to establish that through the survey. All of that, plus additional data, makes it possible for us to go back to businesses that we're trying to recruit into the community and give them real numbers about workforce availability for Muscatine.
Sure.
Because when you look at the Muscatine population, the labor force of Muscatine is about 20,000 people. When you're running at about 1.7% unemployment like we are right now, it's great, it's awesome, wonderful
Yeah.
thing. You're almost, many would consider that fully employed.
Sure.
And so where's your workforce going to come from?
Exactly.
And that's the dilemma for us. If you're going to recruit businesses into the community, you've got to be able to show workforce. This problem is across the state, across the country, is how will you represent to a business that you can put people in the queue to be interviewed and go to work for them?
So if we were looking at bringing a new corporation to Muscatine, they're going to want to know that we have enough people here that they can hire to work,
Yes.
or they're not going to want to come here. Same way with the retail.
Yes.
They don't want to come here if they don't have enough people that are going to come and spend money in their stores.
Especially if people are going to go to their stores in the Quad Cities or in Iowa City and shop anyway.
I know.
If you drop a Kohl's in Muscatine, though we are not done talking to Kohl's, but if you bring a Kohl's to Muscatine, what the folks at Kohl's have told me, because I have them on follow-up to call them
Sure.
routinely, is that why would we build a store in Muscatine? We get all the business we need from Muscatine, or not all the business, they'll always take more, but we get a fair amount of business from Muscatine now
I know.
in the stores.
So what do
we
the
have.
people do? Just quit going to Kohl's in the Quad Cities? That's not going to solve the problem.
No, that's not going to solve the problem. But what we need to do is sort out how we increase our population so that we do
Sure.
have those numbers that can support those retail
Exactly.
entities. And it's a struggle when
Sure.
landing. I mean, it's an awesome problem as well. I mean,
Yes.
there are a lot of people that like to take advantage of our location in the Quad Cities and to Iowa City. There's some good things there. I get that.
Yes.
I personally choose the pace and size of Muscatine. I like that pace and size.
I do too.
I truly do. So that's a trade-off. What do you
Yes,
want?
it
And
is.
so me, I really don't care about shopping. I know a lot of people do,
Right.
but I mean, my wife will tell you that if I could just go into the mall and buy what I need to buy and get out, that would be it.
Yeah.
But
And my
nevertheless,
husband would do the same thing, or he would send me to get it, and then he doesn't even have to go. And
I could get away to that with that some of the time, but not all
But you
the
know,
time.
a lot of people are doing more online stuff too.
That's not helping when it comes to having
No.
bricks and mortar stores, and so it is a change in the way we go to market.
It is.
And people need to change with that, and so does the
Sure.
retail outlets. I mean, I don't quite have this figured out, but I understand Yonkers is talking about making a comeback, but they're talking about making a comeback with online retail.
I know it doesn't make sense
Well,
to me, but
if you don't have to pay for power, if you don't
that's
have
true.
to,
You don't have to pay for the bricks and mortar, and you
Yeah.
can still get all the business that you want.
It's just tricky. And so
It is.
how do you deal
It
with
is.
that? And how do we then support those stores that we have in our community so we don't lose more? Because we do
Right.
have some nice retail outlets in
We
our
do.
community, big box and smaller shops
Yep.
that we need to take advantage of. And so that shop local thing, it can be tricky because
Sure.
I get how it happens that people have got to run up to the Quad Cities and get something while I'm there. I'm just going to shop. Well, I understand that. But
Yeah.
if we could just take a minute and shop local and think about it
Sure.
before we take
Sure.
off, it would be helpful.
Yeah.
But
Do you expect any, so the 17 is out, and we have a flyer that's going to, that we can call up so that people know where they can go to find this. So the other document there, Ryan, says for where they can go to find this, and they can read it for themselves. But I'm wondering, as he's looking for that now, when the 2018 comes out, are you expecting any surprises?
I'd like to have some surprises, like the number of people who work here, live here, that we're not importing as many.
Got
folks.
better.
I mean, that would be a wonderful surprise to get. I don't know that that's practical or reasonable to believe that's going to happen. I mean, those changes are over time.
Sure.
I don't think I would anticipate any huge changes.
Okay.
I think that if the economy keeps humming, I think the number of people prepared to change jobs will probably go down a little bit.
Okay.
I think the state is showing, I believe the state is now showing that there has been a bit of a tick up in wages. And so that's important. And so when those wages come up for a given entity, those people are more apt to stay where they are.
Okay.
And not shop so much. And benefits and state, the number of people who have benefits and those sort of things can make a difference. And
Yeah.
what will you commute for?
Right.
That becomes the issue. What will I travel 20 or 30 or 40 minutes to in order to gain something? And so,
Right. How much do you have to make more than what you're making now to make it worth it?
that's exactly right.
And you've got the 2 hours. There we go. So if people go on there, they will be able to look up this document, which is just like you said, the executive, the little piece of it.
Yes, that's the executive summary. Now, if you wanted to, and I'm sorry I didn't get this to you, but the Iowa Workforce Development site has all of the labor sheds for the entire state is on their site.
Okay.
And so then you could go sort that one and look at the full survey.
Sure.
They did the last one we did, gosh darn it, I think it was 2015 was the full survey.
I think it was too. I remember a meeting about that.
And they put in their process, because people were resisting updating it, that if you'll buy this one, we'll give you an update. So then we had an update that was 2 sets. So we put the latest and greatest on our website
Okay.
for people, because we'd rather have that and then have to answer questions off the
Well,
full
sure,
one
sure.
than give them old data if we can
Oh,
keep
yeah.
from it. So
People are so busy, they just want the cliff notes.
I tell you what, that group that works with the labor shed document out of the Iowa Workforce Development, I don't know everybody that works over there, of course, but I know that those folks are very helpful.
Good.
And there's a lot that can be done with this document that we don't take advantage of, or we haven't.
Oh, I
I've
bet
learned
there
long
is.
and hard what we can do with this as far as sorting it out by given roles and respond. I mean, you could talk about advanced manufacturing and just pull the same data out for people who work in manufacturing. So then it starts talking about wages and workforce availability and that sort of thing. That makes a big difference to
Yes.
businesses that are taking a look at your
And
location.
if I remember correctly, you can manipulate it and take off, like if you're looking at wages, take off the top 2 highest and the bottom 2 lowest, and you get more of an average there.
They'll do that for you. This is all PDF
Sure.
documents, so it's a little tricky
Yeah.
to manipulate, but the state can help you with that, the folks that would do. I hate to say, I shouldn't say that, because I want the ready access that I have to them now to continue. So
Yes.
don't everybody call them at one
No.
time. Give me a call and I'll see
That's
about running
right.
it down for you.
So, am I correct in thinking, to try to help the folks at home understand, about 10,000 people work in Muscatine that live somewhere else, but about 5,000 people live in Muscatine but work somewhere else?
That's correct. And
Is
about
that right?
8,000 people live in Muscatine and work in
And
Muscatine.
work here.
Yeah.
So the problem is the difference between that 10,000 and 5,000. We'd like to scale that back to where it's a little bit more equal.
Well,
Like
if I could pull it
7,500,
off,
7,500.
yeah, that'd be wonderful. But for me, I'd rather just I want them all.
Well, of course.
I'm going to be greedy about it, but if we could just change that percentage some. If there's 10, I think the county number, it's because it's what's stuck in my head. I just got it yesterday. Yes, a renewed version yesterday. It's 10,700 people commute into Muscatine County every day to go to work. And then I don't know, I can't remember the numbers outbound. But if we could change that a tick or two, you know, 10%, I mean, that's 1,000 more people in our community.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And we need that growth for all manner of reasons.
Yep. Our schools, you know, we just were at a meeting with Jerry Reby.
Yep.
And we know that we have declining enrollment in our schools.
Exactly.
And that we get less and less money for the Muscatine Community School District because it's based on per head of the student.
Yep.
So if we have less students, we have less money, and then we have a problem.
And that's kind of
when
a vicious
school
cycle.
closings start talking and things that nobody wants to talk about.
No. But you do have to do, I mean, the school system has to do the right thing. I think they've been making some excellent strides in delivering a product, and that's the people coming out of those schools who are able and ready to come out of those schools. And so I would encourage people to support our schools, and I would certainly encourage people to have their kids go to school and show up and be on time, because that runs on forever. And so, anyway, I'm going to go my high horse way off the topic.
I know. I remember back when we used to. In fact, I think one of our nephews went all through grade school without missing a school day.
Oh, there was one of those.
Yeah, and a couple of our kids got perfect attendance for the year. You used to get the certificate.
Yep.
It used to be something that everybody strove for, and you don't hear as much about that anymore. But and it's the same thing. I really enjoy hearing people make the analogy towards work too. You're not going to miss that many work days, are you?
You're absolutely not going to work. I mean, you're not
going to work for me if you miss that many, and probably not for you either.
If I have to cover your load for 10% of the time, that's not exactly what the deal was.
No.
So anyway, there's a lot of positive things going on in the school system. I hope that people, if they are surveyed by the state about the labor shed, that they'll participate. It is real.
So it may be a phone call?
It will, yeah, those who are going to do the survey, and there'll be a fair number of people who are called in Muscatine.
Both citizens and the businesses?
Just citizens.
Just the citizens,
okay. It'll just be citizens. The work for the businesses are for all intents and purposes, because they ask those folks that they call, and that's what provides the rest of the data from the labor shed. So it'll be, I'm really excited about it. It'll be probably 3 to 5 months before we get that. If somebody wants to send me a picture that they'd like to cover on the labor shed, I'd be happy to look at it.
There you go.
It's always a challenge.
Oh, sure. So then this is free of charge now, done by our Workforce Development Center. That's great to hear, because so many people anymore are doing the crabbies on the workforce development because we don't have one here anymore. So it is great to hear that they're doing different things. And I had Allison Ritchie from Workforce Development on here a couple months ago, and she was sharing that they do have a spot. They have someone dedicated at least once a week to sitting out at community action for those folks that don't feel comfortable with the computer or have an issue. So they really are doing great things. And this is another one.
Yep, this is being done in partnership with the Iowa Economic Development Authority.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's the workforce development folks are the ones that do the work.
Doing the legwork.
I mean, we are
and
all
they're
paying
for it, and we're, of course.
But it's helpful. It's a good tool, and we look forward to seeing the new one.
So what are you going to use this for the most?
We use that a great deal for sending it off to prospective businesses.
Very good.
We have found that we are heightening the use of it for the existing industry here today, so that they get a grasp on what's going on in Muscatine and what that workforce looks like. Because frankly, if we don't sort this out, and if we stay at full employment, and if we don't grow our population, we're going to be hard pressed to get companies to grow here.
Right.
And we have businesses here. They've been awesome. Great capital investment, a lot of jobs. We need that to continue. And if we don't keep the numbers of people, you can make the case that if you'll have those jobs, people will come, and that's true to a great extent. But it's a whole lot easier to just recruit from within the community.
And when you get more businesses coming, then you get competition for wages. Wages go up. That's going to help every family in Muscatine, even if they're not themselves working there. More services and products, more retail comes. So it's a win-win for the whole community when we can market ourselves to bring in new, we're showing some ribbon cuttings with you and I. Yes, when we can market the community and bring in new industry, that's going to help us all.
Those are exciting opportunities
Yes,
to have, and
yes.
I mean, we'll come back and talk about a project we worked on in the not too distant past, and in the not too distant future, I hope. And I don't know what's going to come of that, but it'll be fun to. There, I've wet the whistle on what
There
we're
you
going to talk
go.
about in the future.
All right.
We don't know nothing, but it's fun to. We get the opportunity to recruit new businesses to town 2 or 3 times a month. Where they don't come to see us very often, but it's exciting when they do. And so we are actively recruiting businesses to come to our community. I want people to know that. We're doing it through scientific method. We have the tools in place to make that happen. We work with the Quad City region to try to make, and the Iowa Economic Development Authority to do that recruiting. So a lot of that work's going on, and we have things we're working on to try to make that even more impactful.
Sure.
You know, it's simple stuff like our website and the way we communicate and how we market Muscatine.
And you have a good Facebook page going now too.
Yeah, we do. Our
Yeah.
Facebook page is. I mean, our websites leave something to be desired, and we look forward to fixing it because it's dated, and we know we need to do something with it.
Sure.
But we are working with local folks to see how we can make that work. But we want a world-class web page that can answer the questions that need to be answered.
Oh, sure. It's hard to keep up with technology. I'm telling you, as soon as you think you got it licked, here
my
comes
gosh.
the new thing.
And
I mean, just think of people with their cell phones. As soon as you got the newest one, they're talking about the next newest one.
I got a data piece from the state today that showed that as many people had laptops and desktops as had iPhones or had cell phones.
And
That was either one or the other. I mean, it's like, holy moly.
I know. And we're getting so mobile. A lot of people don't even are going away from the desktop.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and just having the laptops or the tablets or.
A lot of these people just had the phone. That was
Yeah.
their only tool.
Their only tool. Wow.
If you don't have to. I don't type well on the thing, so
I don't either.
If you get a text from me, I'm asking
My kids
forgiveness
make
up
fun
front.
of me because I use my thumbs and that's it.
I don't know.
And I only
any
do
other way.
one. I only do like one at a time. I don't
Yep.
do. Maybe I just do one thumb,
Oh.
not both thumbs. Maybe that's what it is.
Ryan's laughing at us.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think this is going to hopefully give us some data that we can use.
Yep.
That's going to be beneficial for all of us. Because, I'm a big proponent of the more information we have, the better decisions and choices we can make. Because it's got to be based on something concrete, and this is where we get it.
And I can assure you that people looking to make a change to where their location or at a new location, that's all they want.
This is what they want, is give me the hard facts numbers,
You know,
right?
we get an opportunity down the road to talk about how sweet we are, but they want the numbers
Sure
coming
they
out
do.
of the chute. So
They don't want that touchy-feely stuff.
not out of the chute.
Let's see the bottom dollars. Yep.
Not if you're not
The
very
numbers.
Yeah.
That's true. And they have to, or they wouldn't be in business.
That's exactly right.
That's right. Hey, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. Good to see
Appreciate
you
it.
again.
Give us a holler when you get stuff, when this gets, when it gets out, and if we get some more information, anything shows anything we weren't expecting. I just wanted to finish out the night and remind everyone, next Tuesday, Kim Seligman with the Muscatine Diabetes Project is going to be here, and Michelle Burns, who happens to be our daughter also, is the naturalist at Muscatine County Conservation, and all the fall programming is kicking off, so she's going to come and talk about that. And reminder, we have an in-depth council meeting on this Thursday. We are going to be talking about the parking situation, specifically on Mississippi Drive, and we're also going to be talking about the community development, their top 10 list, different things like that. We do have a ribbon cutting tentatively scheduled for Mississippi Drive September 20th, with the hope that the next day we open the street. So, yay. Yes, yay. We have postponed the in-depth discussion for the council meeting on marketing and the branding logo to the October in-depth meeting. So that'll be October 11th. Did I say December? Heck no, October. Thank you all for coming tonight and joining with us in our city, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday night. Thank you to both of our guests, Greg Jenkins and Paula Lavasser. We had a good time with them and with you, and have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week here on Our City.
Our City with Mayor Diana Broderson replays on MPW Channel 9, Wednesday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. and Thursday at 7 a.m. Of course, we're live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on Facebook. Email us at ourcity@muscatineiowa.gov.